right, look at me dropping another news video. I might as well just make it my main thing. I'm kidding. I don't want to do that. But we have some awesome and weird news about the Microsoft versus FTC thing that's been going on for like 18 months now. If you don't know, basically 18 months ago, Microsoft made a proposition to acquire Activision Blizzard for, I think it was like almost $70 billion or something like that. And the deal is supposed to close by July 18th. And I believe if it doesn't close by that date, Microsoft has to pay Activision Blizzard like $3 trillion or some like obscenely absurd number of money in like penalty or something. But we had a huge update in the court case yesterday on July 11th, where basically the federal judge struck down the FTC's effort to block Microsoft Activision merger. Basically, the FTC was trying to, I want to say they wanted to give like a restraining order between Microsoft and Activision to like postpone the deal and to like stop it from happening, because they think that Microsoft buying Activision will pretty much just dismantle PlayStation somehow or some way. Obviously, the main thing is that Sony does not want Xbox to own Call of Duty, and I think that's like a fair argument. I don't like big companies buying up smaller ones. I don't even like console exclusives. So to me, Sony, Microsoft, and Nintendo are all bad guys, kind of in the same power court. Instead of like the Sinister Six, they're like the Terrible Three, and they just kind of gatekeep the gaming community into different things and like start wars amongst different parts of the gaming community. So that's something I've never really enjoyed. This is the world we live in, so you can't really do anything about it. So complaining about it doesn't really change much. This isn't the Sonic movie. You can't get what you want just for complaining about it online. But basically, Judge Jacqueline Scott Corley wrote in like a 50-page explainer on her decision that there was no substantial evidence that Xbox was going to pretty much gatekeep Call of Duty from other consoles. If anything, there was evidence that Call of Duty would be more accessible to people, and that things like the Nintendo Switch are Gen 9 consoles and deserve to be brought into the conversation. They basically, by denying the FTC's notion of preliminary injunction, I think is what it's called, there is pretty much nothing stopping the deal at this point in at least the United States. Obviously, there are other countries where this has already been approved, except for like, I believe in like all of Europe, I think is what it is. Again, I'm not a news channel. You can go, you can look up the facts. I'm just trying to get it out to the common man. Basically, this whole court case came down to Sony trying to cock block the merger, and it makes sense from their side. They did not want Xbox to own a huge money-making tool, but at the same time, Sony keeps exclusives. They had like the exclusive marketing rights to Call of Duty for a while now, and it's just how the cookie crumbles. If anything, PlayStation kind of shot themselves in the foot by being on the FTC's side here. However, that was like some of the biggest news from yesterday, but as of today, about 2 hours ago, the FTC is moving forward with an appeal of the Microsoft Activision decision. Basically, this just means that the case goes forward, and it basically just continues. It's just really cringe at this point. Like, I think most people are now okay with Microsoft purchasing Activision. It makes really no sense that the FTC wants to appeal this to the United States of Court of Appeals. Like, it makes really no sense, and it just kind of seems petty at this point. Basically, if the decision is overturned, Microsoft will not be able to move forward with the deal, but I firmly believe that Activision is not going to want to work with Sony after this if that is the case. Like I feel like it's actually better at this point if everyone just backs off, because otherwise I feel like Activision and Microsoft are going to do things behind closed doors and make it a lot harder for PlayStation people, because I can definitely see a world where, because of the deal falling through, Call of Duty will not be available on PlayStation systems. I always think like big court cases like this are funny because it puts gaming on like a whole different pedestal. Like, we're now in the process of having one of the biggest like console creative companies in Microsoft trying to purchase Activision Blizzard, the people behind World of Warcraft and Call of Duty. Like, and it's drumming up this much buzz. I always think that, to me, it's really funny. And you have all these different types of people coming out of the woodworks saying like, oh, Microsoft is a monopoly and they're just trying to buy instead of make, when that's what every company does. All they do is buy. You're gonna hold something to one standard, you gotta hold them all. Sony, Nintendo, Tencent, you gotta hold all of them to like this kind of monopoly standard. But yeah, I'm curious to see where this goes from here. I'm gonna guess that the same thing is gonna happen, and the FTC is just kind of wasting their time here. This is what our court system is doing instead of like actually trying to fix things across the country. So that's just funny to me. Activision Blizzard is like actively working against the US government systems in certain ways, and that to me is just seeing like Microsoft is attempting to acquire Activision Blizzard, makers of popular titles such as Call of Duty and World of Warcraft. That is not something I thought I would ever see in my life, and seeing like the FTC voted to block the deal is just, it's so funny to me, man.